Hello, true art believers, and welcome to today's installment of the Artist Interview Series. I know I missed last week. I just want to say I apologize. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault, friends. I was ghosted. The person I was supposed to talk to ghosted me, and communication just ceased, and I wasn't able to find a replacement. So I had to miss last week. So I just want to say today I'll be talking with artist K Ponder. I got that right. K Ponder is a St. Louis, Missouri social artivist who combines a variety of artistic styles to create social commentaries. I don't know why I was going to put as. I was going to put as for there for some reason, but anyways, she has been creating art for more than 20 years and has recently started showing her work publicly. Before we start, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. Actually, you don't even have to hit the notifications bell. Just hit the subscribe button. I need some subscriptions. Anyways, thank you and enjoy the conversation. Let's begin the show. That was pretty good, right? That was the whole time.
Beautiful.
I did not stop. I did not stop shouting show. That was, I think that's a world record for the longest something.
I'll contact Guinness.
Contact Guinness. K Ponder, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Matt?
I am doing good. So let's break this down. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first artistic thing you do?
Brush my hair?
I
don't
really?
know.
You don't know? What's the second artistic thing that you do for the day?
I think it depends upon if it's the weekend or if I'm actually like going to work that day.
Okay.
So
do the weekend.
The weekend. Oh man, I play Minecraft. That's artistic, right?
Is it? How is it?
I don't know. I build stuff and mine stuff and
how often do you play Minecraft?
Oh, probably more than I should. At least like once every day or two.
Once every day. What do you do on Minecraft? What kind of things do you build?
My 16-year-old makes fun of me because I build these boring houses out of like different materials just to like color coordinate and stuff like that because I don't know.
do you use Minecraft as a source for your inspiration to create your works?
Actually not so much. I do use it as influence for lesson planning. Because I'm an art teacher as well. So I actually made this project that the kids don't even know about, so it's a super surprise, where they have to research like a history, a culture of architecture, and then recreate it via Minecraft.
So what do they do? Like what are some of the outcomes?
Well, I haven't assigned it yet. It's brand new.
Brand new.
I did a Gothic place though. Like mine was Gothic style. That up for my example.
I've been trying to. You're getting like totally. What's it called? You're getting praised over here by the comments section. Can I show these? Can I show these?
If it's my mom, no.
Your mom?
Just kidding.
No, I've been wondering about using Minecraft as a form of like assignment making, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, is that bordering on? Would I be able to do that, or would it be I always thought like, would people make an excuse to like play the game, and not really do anything?
I mean, they're teenagers, so I mean, they're gonna kind of do that anyway. So, I mean, I've had kids actually do some really cool stuff. Because we just got it this year on their iPads, and they like make their name out of one kid specifically made stuff all on Minecraft, just like they're supposed to draw their name, but he did a really cool, beautiful, like giant sculpture in Minecraft of his name. So, whatever their medium is, I don't care.
And it takes a long time to do.
Yeah, it really did. It took him 2 class periods.
I played Minecraft with some nephews or nieces or nephews. One of those. And I was playing and they wanted me to. They didn't want me to make anything. I was asking how do I make stuff? I didn't know anything of it. And like, just follow me. I'm like, I don't want to follow you. I want to make some things. And that's all they wanted me to do. They wanted me just to follow them in the direction that they're going and not do anything involving Minecraft whatsoever. I was like, this is not Minecraft. This is me just wandering around in a game. Follow me in this building. No, I'm like, and I was just getting a crack out of like taking the hammer and just like breaking the building to pieces. and they were like, don't do that. Don't leave that building alone. Like, why? I'm harvesting. I'm gathering materials because I want to be able to use the materials. But then I tried making something. Someone showed me what to do. I already forgot it, but someone showed me what to do, and I made like something that was really bad. But it was a block. It was a box essentially, and it took forever to do just to make it a rectangular box. You know. So, Kristi, what was art like for you as a child?
Ooh, this is an interesting question. Some of the people on here know the answer to this. Well, I mean, first off, like my mom and dad always encouraged me. I was the only one in my entire family, like anything remotely artistic, but it was mostly music. My little brother does like journalism and creative with his writing, at least. But other than that, it's pretty much just me and him. And so, I mean, I did stuff like painted on the basement walls. The cartoon characters are still in my mom's basement. But in high school, I took a foundations of art class. It was horrible. I hated it so much, which is probably why I became a high school art teacher after that. Because I'm like, oh, I can do this so much better, So, yeah, I mean, from there, I kind of stumbled into Maryville University, and I was going to go into music because I played the piano and sang for years competitively. And I went up there with my mom. I'm like, man, I don't want to do music anymore. I don't know what I want to do. My mom's sitting there at the counselor's office. She's like, you should probably take some art classes. I'm like, I don't like art. She's like, no, you should. I'm like, okay. So I did, and I fell in love with it. I had 2 of the most amazing instructors I've ever had in my life at Maryville University. So I don't know if they're on or if they'll see this, but Nancy Newman Rice and Steve Texar, they changed the way I saw the world. So they let me see art for what it really was. And I don't know, I spent a semester over in Florence, Italy in college and just kind of fell deeper and deeper in love with art throughout my college years. And then afterwards, about 4 years after I graduated, I, went back to school to become an art teacher to hopefully do a little bit better of a job than what I got in high school.
How did they change your perspective in art?
So Nancy, particularly, I think just, and I never really thought about it before, but even like the way that she teaches is kind of the way that I teach. It's very much, here's a concept, let me help you one-on-one kind of develop it. And so she challenged me a lot, not just artistically, but to think about the things that I was seeing. And we frequently talked about, society and things a lot deeper, which kind of opened my eyes. Even, in college, you kind of change a lot anyway. But I really started seeing the world very, very differently than I did before. So I think that was mostly because of Nancy and our discussions and her encouraging me to study in Italy.
What kind of conversations did you have about society?
um, what can I say? I mean, things really about politics, or how a lot of people are one extreme or the other. You know, there's very seldom anybody kind of in between. And I mean, we talked a lot about current events, but mainly just trying to understand the world for what it was and coming up with my own definition and my own meaning behind what I'm doing with my life and with my art.
And the work that you did, like the classes pre-college, how did those, like the middle school and high school, kind of ruin you?
Middle school, honestly, I don't remember, because
Okay.
the way it worked, we only had like art for a quarter or two for 2 years. So like half of a year in 2 years. So not very much. I barely remember it. But it wasn't anything I like enjoyed at all, which is funny. And yeah, in high school, man, you just have a teacher sometimes that hates you and you don't know why. That's kind of like what art class was for me. And the projects were just very like elementary, like, hey, you're gonna use the primary colors and pointillism to recreate a comic book strip. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you trying to teach me? Just tell me. Or, we had to like do a repetitive pattern and then a progressing pattern and all the different types of patterns. So there was no investment for me. I didn't really understand what art could be at that point, and what it was and what it could be used for.
And what kind of assignments did you have in college that kind of challenged your thought process?
Oh God, so many. Well, I mean, after the basic like intro to painting, intro to drawing, design, all those kinds of classes. From that, I mean, in painting specifically, we started really building a portfolio. Art history classes influenced me a lot. I love art history. So I guess the combination of that art history section of my life, and also just exploring different themes, like they made us do self-portraits. And I mean, when you think about it, self-portrait can really kind of be anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they were challenging our preconceived notions too of what we thought these themes were, what these things were, and allowing us to kind of show it in a way that made sense to us.
So what was one of the projects that you loved the most?
In college, man, that was, when did I graduate? 17 years ago. My God, I'm old. Um, honestly, I think one of my favorites was in my figure drawing class, where we had to do a life-size figure drawing. And we could use whatever materials we liked. And my drawing instructor knew me, and Steve, he knew me. He brought in, told me about the giant oil sticks,
Mm-hmm.
because my work is very large. There is some detail, but I'm not, and really didn't used to be one for detail. I've gotten a little bit better over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love that project.
And what kind of work did you make as a child?
Honestly, mostly this tattoo on my wrist. I did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of doodles like this.
You did doodles
Um,
on your wrist?
on my hand, my wrist, my notes, my homework. My teachers loved it.
So as an artist, how do you structure your days?
I mean, honestly, it kind of, it depends on honestly what's going on. I do make a lot of time for painting.
Okay.
I don't have a set schedule. I'm pretty ADHD, like as in I am, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't like having a set schedule. I work when I can and when I'm motivated to and when I want to, which happens at least 2 or 3 times a week.
So you tackle art 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Is it usually least. Is there a moment of zen or a peak hour that you find that works best for you?
No, actually. I can work at 8 in the morning or I can work at 10 at night, and anything in between.
Do you as a teacher though, or yes, as a teacher, you have to be organized, yes?
I mean, you don't have to be, but I am.
Yeah. Have you encountered like unorganized teachers?
Oh my God. I don't want to speak ill of people, but so we're just going to say yes.
that is commonly, I don't know what we're doing today. We're just going to do something. I'm going to turn to a page and hope what's on there is what we're going to talk about today.
Or like the storerooms, man. I have anxiety going into art teacher storerooms.
So like, how has your teaching career changed? How has your like teaching methodologies changed throughout the times?
Well, I kind of started initially because I was a math major. And from there, I kind of really, really liked, I don't know, a lot of like anatomical drawings was my particular style. But then for my teaching, it was a rubric that was very objective. So I was trying to take something subjective like art and make it into something that was more measurable. And I'm still trying to do that so kids know how to improve and they know what they need to do to get better at whatever they want to get better at. But when I started, it was very concrete, like uses 4 values and an object has no outlines. But I kind of shied away from that. And now it's more about kids perceiving and analyzing artistic work, or reflecting and refining a piece over time. So I've made now I'm at the point where I've made very specific, this is what you should be able to do when you're reflecting and refining your artwork. Or there's one that talks about taking risks when organizing and developing your artwork. So that's very concrete, but it's still very open to interpretation on the student's end. So that's kind of where I'm going. And I really like the idea of inquiry-based. So kids are exploring themes or subjects that are personally meaningful to them.
What's that?
It's called inquiry-based art. Inquiry.
Oh, I thought you said inquiry.
I talk weird.
Oh, no, so inquiry-based. Okay.
Inquiry. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. Yes. I think I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. Now I'm probably guessing myself.
I inquired.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like 32 when I realized I said milk instead of milk. So, you know.
You say milk?
I say milk. Yeah. My husband.
I like a good glass of milk too.
Yeah. Now my husband calls it malk just to mess with me.
Malk?
Yeah. I don't know. He's weird.
So you went from a almost like a step-by-step assignment base to more thought process base.
Yes. Very open-ended, very reflective.
Before we continue this conversation, who are your favorite artists?
Well, oh my gosh, how do I answer that? A lot. Can I do a top 5?
I think that's plural. So yes.
Oh, he did say artists. Okay.
Artists. That's a question that was asked by someone in the comment section.
Okay. So I would say Jean-Michel Basquiat is one of my personal favorites. He's amazing. If you don't know him, you'll thank me later. Then I would say,
why Basquiat?
Man, why Basquiat? His art is just, it's very much social commentaries, and he was bringing to light a lot of the struggles and the things and the stereotypes that Black Americans felt, and how he was discriminated against, and did it in a way that, I mean, it doesn't hit you in the face. Like, you have to actually think about his work and look at it to interpret it. And it could have a different meaning for a variety of different people, which is another reason I like it. He was just revolutionary. Like, I just really, really admired who he was, and how he chose the life that he had, essentially.
Didn't he end up collaborating with Andy Warhol?
Yeah, he did quite a few collaborative pieces with Andy Warhol. So I actually got to see the guy that he did graffiti with when he first started. He came to St. Louis, so I got to hear him speak, which was really, really cool. Hearing about their life growing up in the scene at the time in New York, when they were making all of this art.
Yeah. And what are the other artists?
I would say Rene Magritte, Salvador Dali. Like, there's, can I just say surrealism?
Surrealism.
DeChirico, Frida Kahlo, they're all up there within surrealism. And then who would I say? I'd say Friedrich from Romanticism era.
Friedrich?
This beautiful, Casper John. Is it Casper John? No, I'm
Casper
losing
the
my
Ghost?
art. No. But he did like these amazing giant landscapes. So a lot of my work I focus on, I mean, that's what I've been doing the past 3 years is landscapes predominantly. So let's see, do I have another favorite artist? I'm sure I really love Kerry James Marshall. He's been up there for a while. He's still practicing. Faith Ringgold, I got to see her. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. I don't know, man. There's a lot. There's a lot I pull, and every time I am talking to a kid, I get a lot of inspiration from my students too, really, because it could be something that they're working on, gives me ideas. Like, they pick up these iPads, man, and the stuff they come up with, like, without zero instruction, and they just do these beautiful drawings. I'm like, how did you do that? And sixth graders are teaching me how to be a better digital artist.
The filters on there are amazing sheets. So that's what, and I don't know them, but I know that they really help bring up the game.
Well, you can trace stuff too. I mean, but I'm saying some of these kids, like, they're past that. They don't.
And the medium allows for faster development, probably because you can just draw over and over and over, and just without having to erase, or it's just it can be if you know how to use it after time, you can become really, really efficient and fast. I'm really slow at it.
I am too.
So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter or Instagram, and you were scrolling through, what artist would you thumbs down?
Oh, that's so mean. Oh, that's. I would say Thomas Kincaid. Sorry, guys.
Oh, people love. Well,
Not a fan.
Those artists that are like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't care.
He's rich. I mean,
his bank account is not his bank account saying, "I don't care if you don't like me. I got a lot of zeros." Behind buying.
How much money you got?
So you think he's an overrated artist?
It's not my particular style. Okay. Let me say, I don't knock anybody for liking what they like, but I'm also not a huge fan of Claude Monet, even though I can admire like his innovation at the time period.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. I don't necessarily like looking at it.
Who's an underrated artist?
Betty Saar actually recently came out. She's been making art for like 70 years, 60, 70 years. And she recently kind of hit a little bit of notice. She's absolutely amazing. And let's see. there is a more recent artist. Her name's Tatiana, and I know well enough to know that I shouldn't try to pronounce her last name because I will butcher it. But it starts with an F.
Yeah.
And she's an American artist and activist, and she did this whole series on stop telling women to smile. So I think that is, really calling attention to like how women are treated in social media, on the street, all sorts of stuff. So I tend to like a lot of activists. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of underrated artists. You have to know the right people sometimes. I mean, there's a couple local artists that I absolutely adore their work. So,
So, was it Betty Shaw?
Sar.
Sar. I don't know why I saw that. The Shaw. Betty Sar, and she's been making work for like 70 years.
Yeah, something like that. A long time.
And just now getting some claim.
Yeah.
Man, I heard. I just heard this quote the other day. What was it like? It was like it takes like 5 years to be an overnight success, or an overnight an overnight success, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, like all that work people don't see, and all the effort people do not see, and you like this person just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, have you seen
I've been working for 20 years, man.
thousands and thousands and thousands of failures prior to this? It was not overnight, fella.
Yep. Well, that's one of my things. I try not to be mean because I know it's coming from a good place from people. But when they say stuff like, man, you're so talented, I know it's positive. I know that's what they're going for. But in the same extent, I'm like, I'm not talented. Like, not naturally. Like, this is something I've had to develop.
It's hard work.
And I mean, Nancy and Steve, if they're on here, they can comment and be like, yeah, she wasn't good when she started art school. I was like at the bottom rung in art school. So
like what kind of so you're at the bottom rung. What kind of work were you making when you first starting?
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, they're like, hey, draw a foot. And I'm like, okay. And I would try my best, but I mean, I really had, I could copy something that I could see like a 2-dimensional image ish, but that's all I could do at that point. So like, it took me a lot of work, to actually be able to draw pretty realistically, and to be able to mix my colors, to get a variety of different shades, tints, and tones, and to really get the color that I was looking for. That's something my painting instructor, man, she knew. If you took a color straight out of a tube, she wasn't having any of that. She's like, no.
Oh, really?
Nope. Yep. We had to mix every single color, at least a little bit. And she could tell. We tested her.
So we were talking about you went from more step-by-step formulaic assignments to more inquiry assignments.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit more.
So this past year, of course, was a little different with, sometimes we were at home and sometimes we weren't. And sometimes I did both at the same time, had kids at home on the computer and kids in my classroom. And we couldn't really share supplies. So I don't like using this year as an example. But for example, like I would give kids a theme. Something could be something as simple as, draw a self-portrait. And we really talked about what that could be. And I showed them like examples from Audrey Flack, like her still lives, which if you don't know Audrey Flack, she does realistic still life paintings. And she's moved on to sculpture. She does a whole bunch of stuff now. But that's what she became famous for back in the 60s and 70s. So I would show them these objects and, let them know that, hey, you can do anything. This self-portrait doesn't even have to include your face if you don't want it to. But my first inquiry-based thing deals with materials. So they kind of develop a question around, what materials they want to use or what processes or techniques they want to explore. And then the theme is totally up to them in that scenario. They can do whatever they want as long as they're experimenting with materials.
Okay.
So sometimes I give them deeper themes. Like one of my favorites is duality. So they have to visually represent some type of duality. So that's kind of what I want to go for. Because I have kids in there that want to be artists, and most of them don't. They just kind of like art and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep that in mind. I'm like, I will teach you whatever skills you want to learn. But if you really just want to come in and you really, just want to make art and don't even necessarily want to get better, but you really enjoy making art, you're middle schoolers. I don't care. You're thinking and you're creating. Thinking critically, that's what I care about.
I have a question here from someone on the comment section. It said, so you went to Italy.
Yeah.
The question was, what is it? I'm trying to read this here. If Kay Ponder studied in Italy, if she were to live 6 months as a working artist anywhere in the world, where would you want to study? Where would you go today?
Man, that's a good question. I've never even thought about that. I just want to go. I wanted to go back to Florence, Italy, because that's where I lived. But honestly, probably Paris might be really interesting. I fell in love with Paris and Versailles, and I love nature. I love being outdoors. So I almost would say like, I don't even know, some small village, maybe on the outskirts of Paris. So I could go to the city when I wanted to, but I really like the outdoors. I love camping. I love hiking. I love floating, kayaking, all that kind of stuff. And I get a lot of my inspiration from nature.
Do you journal?
Kinda, yeah. I do sometimes. Sometimes, so I have like this wall up here in my studio that just has a bunch of sketches or like mini watercolor paintings, postcards, stuff like that. But I do actually have an altered book that I've started using. It's actually behind me over there, to where I'm creating art in actually my favorite book, which is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So if you've never read it, I recommend that one. So Brave New World. And I actually have a painting based off of that too.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So what else would you do there? Like, how would you navigate your artistic endeavors there?
I don't know how different it would be, honestly, besides visiting the museums. Like that's something I took advantage of when I was in Italy, was how much art there was, not just in Florence, but throughout Italy, in Paris, and every place I went in Europe. It was like there was 2 or 3 museums in every city that were big And here in the States, it's just not quite that way.
There's like one every state.
Yeah, and like we have 2 good ones in Kansas City, and we've got 2 or 3 decent ones here in St. Louis too. Like St. Louis Art Museum is pretty awesome. The Pulitzer Building and the Contemporary Art. So I mean, we have some good ones, but it's so different there because everything's so close. Maybe it's because we're in the Midwest that I feel that way. And if I was on the East or West Coast, I might have a different perspective.
Do you like going to museums often?
Oh, I love going to museums. Every time I'm near one.
Why? Why do you like going to museums so much?
I like just thinking about other people's art. I love getting inspired by what I see. And it seems like every time I go to a museum, I see something different, or I discover a new artist, or I see something, I'm like, oh, I really want to incorporate something like that in this painting. Yeah. So most of the pieces I create are based on actual places I've been. And then whatever I've experienced in my time in that place, whatever flashback to something that happened before I experienced, or like any kind of emotion or anything. And so that is essentially what goes into my landscapes.
Is there a piece or an artist that you find yourself visiting over and over again when you go to a museum?
Honestly, not so much. I tend to visit different sections depending upon what I'm in the mood for. So if like I'm going to the St. Louis Art Museum, there was one time I was really, really interested in the landscapes, from China, Japan, Korea, all the what they have on display at the St. Louis Art Museum. And so I spent a lot of time in that section. And there was another time I was really interested in the Christian art for whatever reason, and super fascinated by that. So, I mean, my taste for art is extremely eclectic,
Oh,
like my
really?
taste for music. So I tend to like almost everything.
Is there a genre of art that you do not fancy as much?
I'm not a huge fan of Impressionism.
Okay.
Again,
Why is
not to
that?
say that I don't appreciate it. Like, I appreciate where it sits in art history and how it influenced so many artists, and without it, we wouldn't have what we have today. Um, it's just so soft
Yeah.
and
You know,
calm for me.
you don't like, do you not like the palette that a lot of the impressionists used?
No, I don't like pastels,
Okay. Okay.
generally speaking. So, I mean, now that being said, I use it in my work sometimes, but not. It's not the same.
It's not like that, like cotton candy,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
And there is some
like,
impressionist work that is different, but yeah.
so you're not do you have a lot of books of art that you reference?
Not really. Honestly, I used to.
You used to?
Um, yeah, but I had a former student that became an art teacher, and I gave her all my books. Not all of them,
You're
but I
like,
gave her a lot of them.
here's all my books, take them.
Use them.
um so K Ponder. I don't know if I should just say K. 'Cause
Well, you can
you
say
want me.
Kristi. I don't care. It's fine.
I'm so confused on how you want me, because you're like, just address me by K Ponder, and I was like, oh, should I just say not? I was thinking to myself, should I just say the letter K?
That's fine.
um,
Yeah, it drives my husband crazy. I'm not very decisive. I'm good either way.
okay, I'm gonna say Kristi because I think it's gonna sound weird. I'm gonna feel weird saying just the letter K.
Okay.
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 I totally forgot what I was going to ask now. Oh, I remember because I just went on this this small little segue about how I should address you. Kristi, how do you start your art? Like, what's your process for creating your artwork? What do you do? Like, what's the very first thing, and then like, what's the thing that you do after that first thing, and where do you go from there?
So I think usually I'm really inspired by skies. Um, so if I see something specific, I go home and I create it, or the next day, or if I'm like in the middle of nowhere, I take a picture of it. So when I get home, I can create it. Um, so I start with just a sky.
Mm-hmm.
From there, if when I was in that place, like, I'll take note of my surroundings. I'll take, just kind of a mental note. And sometimes, I mean, I have like 20 paintings of skies that I never did anything with. So they're just kind of chilling there. But some of them, I'll think, okay, this is what I was feeling at that time, whether it be a negative or positive experience, or something was on my mind that I
Mm-hmm.
experienced that week, and that just kind of clicked with that sky that I saw. So from there, once I have that theme, then I start brainstorming and sketching how to visually represent that. Um, Sometimes, a lot of times, it includes people. I like including people in my works, that whole romanticism vibe of the vastness of giant nature and how small humans really are in the grand scheme of things. So there's like philosophical reasons to the tiny humans. Um, But so once I figure that out, then I just build off my background and usually paint. Sometimes I add texture. Sometimes I do photo transfers from my photographs. Sometimes I'm drawing with paint markers on top. Like it just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of go with it. And every time I do, I try not to have like 100% polished image in my mind because that's almost impossible. I think kids struggle with that. They're like, I have this idea in my head and I just can't make it look like that. Your brain doesn't let you. So like, yeah, your brain can focus on the big picture or it can focus on a tiny detail. It can't do both at the same time. So if you can't see all the details in your head, then you can't create those details on your artwork. So I try not to have that, super detailed version in my brain. I just kind of go with it, see where it takes me.
How long does it usually take to make one of your pieces?
Something small, like maybe 2 hours.
2 hours? Wow, that's fast.
So something maybe, this one's not done yet, but something maybe about like this big.
Okay.
Maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
Something bigger. Most of my stuff is a lot bigger. Takes like the piece behind me here. That one's not done yet, but I've already spent probably about 4 hours on that one.
4 hours? Mm-hmm. Are you one of those artists that works on multiple pieces at a time or just one at a time?
I have ADHD. I can't just work on one, but I never do more than two.
Never. Okay, so
I never do more than two because if I do more than two, then I'll forget about one of them and it'll never get finished. So I only allow myself two.
Have you ever tried doing more than two?
Yeah, they didn't get finished.
So like the third one just kind of got lost.
Or the first one, usually it's the first or second one that it's like, oh, this one's not as good as the other two. Forget it.
So is that your reasoning why you quit working on the first, the third?
Yeah.
So you kind of like averaged out the better of the two? Or three?
Yeah, exactly. I picked the two best ones, and so then I'm like, I'm just going to do two because even if it's not a good painting, I still feel like I should go through that process of exploring what's in my head, and I think that's good for me.
What kind of transfers are you using? Like what kind of what specific transfer method are you are you using?
I just use gel medium.
A gel medium transfer.
Yeah, but I've also used packaging tape. Have you ever done that before?
I have to think about how that would work. Explain how you would do a packaging tape transfer.
So
I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with gel medium and gesso transfers, xylene and acetone transfers.
So let's see. Now this is not a photocopy, but let's say it is because I just have it right here. I take packaging tape and you just put it over it. And it does a really cool effect. You can overlay the layers and crisscross them or do whatever you want. And then you soak the paper in water, like actually in a sink, and you just kind of rub off the paper. And it does work on magazines too. And the ink just stays on the packaging tape.
Is it a super clear transfer, or is it kind of like degraded and destroyed transfer where there's some uncertainty at the final product?
It depends upon how you do it. You can get them clear, but it takes practice. Or you can purposely make them, do them a little bit quicker, and that reduces the quality and the clearness.
How did you stumble upon packaging tape as a form of transfer?
I was actually at like an art teachers conference in Illinois, and they had all these cool like little workshops. I did leaf printing for the first time on watercolor paper. That was super cool.
What's
that
leaf
process?
printing?
Oh my God. Okay. So I get really excited. Sorry. You take any kind of leaf. And I used to do this with my high school kiddos, kind of like experiment with the different types of colors the different leaves will give you.
Yeah.
So you have to soak the leaves in rust water for at least 24 hours.
In water?
Rust water.
Rust?
So just put some water in a jar and set it on the windowsill for a couple months, and you got rust water.
Okay, so it gets like dingy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you soak the leaves in that for 24 hours. Yeah.
But why rust water? Why can't it just be regular water?
because the chemical reaction
Okay.
between the rust and then the different things that you soak the
Okay.
paper in prior to the leaf printing. So like I had the kids test. We used alum, which is like the seasoning, in water. And we soaked watercolor paper in that. And we soaked watercolor paper in soy milk. I think the other one was vinegar, and then just water, plain water for
Okay.
our control. And then they would take maple leaves, oak leaves, whatever leaves, and you sandwich them in the watercolor paper,
Uh-huh.
wrap them with plastic wrap, and then you steam them for like 45 minutes.
And they become like weird colors or something.
Yeah, the leaf, the colors from the leaf actually transfer onto the paper.
Is it like a foggy, impressionistic approach?
Some some of them are, depending
Mhm.
upon what you use and how long you soaked it for. So that was part of the whole experiment, was to get them to figure out what kind of print they wanted. If they wanted it to be more crisp and clear, if they wanted it to be more faded, and they could experiment with like mixing them too to see.
Were you ever like, oh, this is terrible, it's too impressionistic, throw it away, get
No,
it
but
out of here?
I do actually tell kids when they're not working and they like pretend that they are, and I come around and man, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And the kids like look at me and I'm like, he hasn't drawn anything. They're like, oh, so they get all scared, and I'm like, I'm not really making fun of. I can't make fun of middle schoolers. That's not nice. They're too innocent.
No, like, well, you can't. Well, you really can't make fun of like something that's almost random.
Yeah.
You know, like you can have a certain level of control when you're working in that like technique, but like you're not guaranteed a set outcome. So you can't be like, you can't berate someone for saying, why did you do such a bad leaf thing? Why does it
Why
look
is
like
your
this?
frog purple?
Yeah, like I can't believe you did that. So what's another unique transfer method that's kind of strange? You know,
You
like
know, that's all I've really kind of played with.
oh yeah,
Because I'm still actually learning. Oh, there was. So I actually just took a class with. Actually, I think you know him. I don't think he'd mind me saying his name. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. He's a local artist, and he does a lot of transfers in his art. And I took a class with him, and he showed us how to use baby oil.
okay,
So you take an image, like on just regular paper, and it has to have a lot of white on it for this to work, high contrast. And you just rub baby oil on the paper and you let it dry, and then it becomes transparent once it dries, and then you can affix it to whatever background, or semi-transparent, I should say. So that's kind of cool. I'd never played with that before. He did something. I'm not brave enough to try this yet, but I'm going to one day, to where he purely just took an image and put gel medium on it and then rubbed off the paper so the ink was on like was kind of like plastic or acrylic
yeah,
medium.
yeah. It becomes
So
like a thin sheet
yeah, that was really cool. So I still got to play with that though.
because the gel medium it becomes plastic essentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is another question that we have. Where would be the least favorite place you would want to study art?
Least favorite place.
You'd have to find like a school that you would never want to study art at, or something, or an academy. Like where would that be? The Thomas Kincaid Institute of Light,
of realism or something like
Realism.
that. Yeah, like no, I don't like. I'm not a big fan of realism.
The Academic Impressionism University of
Man, I
New York.
honestly like I don't even know how to answer that, because I mean, just about any place I could go, I feel like I could learn something. Like no matter where I'm at in the world, like everybody makes art, every culture
Mhm.
makes art. So I mean, even the landscapes, like I would be inspired by the landscape no matter where, unless it was Alaska, because that's too cold. So there we go. There's my answer. Alaska.
You would not want to go
It's too cold.
too cold.
I don't like being cold.
So, while we're put some of your images in queue,
Okay.
and do that. But while you're doing that, I would like for you to answer this question: do you have a fly in the room? Do you?
No, you have a fly in the room, not me.
I
right?
have a fly in the room. It was like just
Okay.
oh, I
Got
like do you have any special techniques that you use in your artwork that you would like to divulge?
Let me see. I've got a couple of these on here I'm trying to figure out. So this one, this was my Brave New World.
Okay.
Is it showing Brave New World?
You want me to add it? You want me to show it?
Oh, I thought
It's there.
Is it there? Okay, good. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Whoa, it's twirling out. I think you zoomed
Nope,
in.
I zoomed out.
I really like the new zoom effect you've been doing. Is that a new experimentation
Yeah, you like
you're
that?
working with?
Yeah, beautiful. So this one, I like to water down my paint a lot, so I think this one kind of shows that off with like the buildings melting into the humans. And this is actually on here. It is what are those called, man? The patterns.
Patterns?
Like for sewing and stuff on the humans here.
Okay. So sewing patterns? Do you sew on your canvas?
Oh God, no. I am a horrible sewer. I can't do anything meticulous. But no, I've never really sewn on my canvas before.
So what's going on with this painting? Is like this machine dropping brains in these people?
Yeah, so it's based off of Brave New World.
What's Brave New World?
Which is the best book ever written by Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
So it's, if you've read it, you know, and I know a couple people in here have read it before. But so it was written in 1931, 32, something like that, a long time ago. And it's a dystopian novel, one of the original ones. And it really is about how the government, in order to get rid of hate and war and all of these negative things, you know, jealousy, they essentially program humans. So we're all born in a factory, and every class gets their jobs, whether it's night jobs or doctors or whatever it is. Everybody essentially gets assigned a class and a job, based on how they are brainwashed and trained. So, yeah, I that book, that was one of the things that kind of changed the way I thought about the world around me. Like, you know, utopia versus dystopian versus what we have, and really taking in what I see around me.
So what kind of materials are in this piece right here?
This is canvas, predominantly acrylic paint. There's also some paint marker with the silver and with some black in certain places, and then glue and the sewing patterns.
Okay, why the sewing patterns? What's the meaning for those?
Just kind of the concept that like humans, at least in the book, were kind of like blueprinted out and planned.
Okay.
And essentially given their identity. So.
Do you have another piece available?
Yeah. Let me stop. I got to stop, and then I got to go back in. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the issue with technology.
Yeah, you know, it just takes a second though. So this is one I actually recently gave to, or one of my former students actually owns now.
Okay.
And this one is kind of very deeply personal for me.
Okay.
Because the whole the whole thing with gender and like gender stereotypes, you know, I grew up not identifying with the female gender, and people accusing me of not being female, or I got bullied a lot in school, especially middle school, because everybody thought that I was a lesbian, just because I wasn't super girly.
Yeah.
So
Middle school, like
dude,
everyone
middle
was
school's rough, man.
everyone was mean.
Rough.
Everyone was mean in middle school. Like if you weren't popular, you were just bullied.
Yeah.
It was like there's only two groups. The
10 popular kids, and then everybody else who's trying to climb up to that popular
like,
place
oh
by making fun of
gosh.
people.
Yeah, everyone was like just angry and mad, and they're
especially in the 90s.
yeah, angry and mad, and what was it? What's the word for
angst?
Angst. You're self-conscious, or you're not
insecure.
You're insecure.
Yep.
And you're just projecting all that to the external world,
everybody else.
And it's just like middle school is just rough. Like I don't know if there's a lot of people I can talk to be like, yeah, middle school is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know anybody. And I tell that to my middle schoolers too. I'm like, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, middle school sucks, man. Sorry. I'm gonna make it as good as I can for you. At least try to make it better.
Yeah.
But
it looks like this piece has transfers on it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's some. Essentially, I started with like scrapbooking paper, which is the flowers or the wreath thing in the back. And then I found I have these drawings of the female and the male, and the whole idea was showing you how masculine features versus feminine features. So, I mean, that whole thing, I don't know. I hate stereotypes of any kind. And I think that's like the 90s and 80s kid in me, like hating any type of labels. And I think this generation has taken it a step further to where now they have a lot of labels, but they want to be the ones. They don't want anybody else to label them, which, that's a whole side tangent. But so, I mean, I've had quite a few students, quite a few people I know personally in the LGBTQ IA plus community. And I know 2 people specifically that identify as trans. So this was kind of a personal piece for me in representing like what I feel about societal gender norms and stereotypes, while also kind of commenting on how ridiculous the labels can be.
I like the transparencies of these figures in the foreground right here. Like those are really nice. Like what is that? Is it like tissue paper, or like is it?
It's just a transfer. It's 2 transfers on top of each other.
Okay,
so I did a bigger one and then a smaller one.
So you had like 2 of the same photos or something?
Yeah.
And you just had like a smaller version?
Yep.
And what kind of transfer is that?
Gel medium.
Gel medium.
Yeah.
So which transfer was the first? Was it the small one, small face, or the larger face?
The large. Actually, that's 3. I lied.
It's 3 faces.
2 larges, and then I did the small one at the end.
Okay. So there's three transfers.
Yeah.
And that requires you to kind of rub the paper off? Is that true?
After each layer, and you got to let it dry, and then put a layer of the medium on top of it, let it dry, then do the next layers.
Very cool. I almost like I can see these like that being its own series in itself, where you just have these like duplicity of faces, just like transfers over transfers over transfers. I just like the lines. I like overlapping and layers. So that type of aesthetic I really enjoy. A lot of just ambiguous layers, I like overlapping of forms. And what's this? Is this like this? What's this gold leaf type of pattern here?
That's actually just so I did one layer of the scrapbooking stuff, and then I put green food coloring and gel medium, and that's the green that you see, like a thin layer over the top. And then I put the flowers that you see in the bottom, middle, and then on the top to the right and the left, and then the one in between the two male and female figures, the pink and the blue. That was the last thing to go on.
So you gave this to a former student.
Yeah, well, they bought it, but
they bought it.
Well, they actually technically bought a print, and I just sent them the painting because I love this person. So
they bought a print, and you gave them an original.
Yeah.
It's like, here, just have the original.
Yeah, yeah.
How big is this piece?
It's only about like 12 inches tall. It's not very big.
Like 12 by
12 by
8 or something,
8, maybe. Yeah.
And do you have any other work that you'd like to show?
Yeah, why not? Right, we got time.
Yeah, and while you're finding another piece, a person is asking this question, but I actually have the same question, essentially. What advice can you give to someone who wants to become an artist?
Whew. I mean, never stop looking.
Okay.
Like, inspiration is all around you. Keep practicing. Your art will change from what you think it's going to be, and it could just embrace if you get inspired by somebody else or something else, or some other style. Like, try it, practice it for a while, and you'll know if it's good for you or not. But yeah, never stop trying and never stop looking. Always practice. So this is another one I was going to show. Maybe I shouldn't have shown this after I gave all that positive advice. This one's titled Don't Get Out of Your Box.
Okay.
And I was feeling particularly frustrated when I made this piece.
About what?
So it's kind of that, you know, how you always hear like, oh, we want you to be creative, or innovation, and in education specifically, they're like, oh, try something different, be innovative, be whatever. And so they're like prompting you to come out, you know, and like, hey, here's this trophy if you do all these things. But then as soon as you actually climb out of your box, or you're trying to, other people are pushing you back in. I've done quite a few pieces with boxes to kind of represent like labels or people's preconceived notions about who you are based on your appearance. So they're trying to lure you out, get outside of that box, think differently, whatever. And other people are pushing you back in, still labeling you, not really letting you out. But you don't know, like, once you actually get out, you know, they actually have a gun behind their back and they're not really intending. It's a very dark, deep meaning. This is why I'm such a happy person, because I get all the negative stuff out visually.
I would really like to see this in pastels.
Oh, yeah? I don't think it have the same effect, Matt.
So, what's this done with? Is it done with acrylic? Is there any transfers in there?
No, this is just, it's acrylic watered down predominantly. Okay. Many, 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 many layers of acrylic on just unprimed canvas. Ungessoed, whatever. And I did use some paint markers on the figures and the coffin boxes things.
Why do you choose to use paint markers?
I love drawing. I absolutely adore drawing. And I really like keeping the marks kind of visible. So if it'll let me zoom in a little bit, let's see, will let me do a little bit more. You can start to see in the figure, yep, it zoomed in a little bit, how you can see some of the marks a little bit clearer. I like them. They dry quicker than paint, so I can like layer on a bunch more details quicker than I could with acrylic paint. Oh, I just did it again. There we go.
No, that's and typically, what does a work like this take to do?
Time-wise,
Yeah.
this one probably took about 10 to 14 hours. It's
Uh-huh.
pretty big though. It's see, I have it in here somewhere. No, I have it out in the hallway. I forgot I moved it. It's about 36 inches wide. So by like 2.5 feet by 3 feet, I think.
So what's your specific like theme of art that you're trying to like your social commentary that you're really tackling? Like uh uh, uh what's the core like meaning or topic that you're addressing with your work?
Usually what I try to do, and I showed a little bit more variety tonight, what I'm trying to do, which is a little bit more clear if I show one more real quick, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is really kind of show the commonalities that we have, like in this one, which is entitled The Pursuit of Happiness. Kind of these universal human things that we experience, because I feel like throughout my life, um, it's constantly focusing on what makes us different. I have a lot of strong feelings about, putting people into groups and how, I mean, that really goes against everything that I stand for. Um, you know, um, there's definitely some groups like saying you can't take away somebody's gender, you can't take away their race. They're part of that group. But also understanding, like, even though we might be in separate groups, we have so many similarities. We have far more similarities than we do differences as humans. And I think if once people start to realize, or hopefully sometimes some of us realize it, um, more and more people realize that, like, that's where empathy comes into play. And once you realize that the other person isn't evil and that we actually have a lot in common, then maybe you can start seeing them for being a human and
Yeah.
not some kind of demon that you should be against and fight against your whole life,
Yeah, there's a lot of uh, um like if you don't have the same perspective as me, you're like against me type of
Yeah,
mentality.
exactly. And it's like it doesn't have to be that way.
And like you can't be the problem with like that mentality is like, well, we're not clones of each other. We're
Yeah,
all we're all our own individual, we're all our own
exactly.
self. And to be mad at someone for having a difference of opinion is I don't know if it just doesn't help the issues. It just
No,
it probably exacerbates it,
it does.
exaggerates it, right?
And it's a lot easier, I think, to say than to actually live. Because if somebody says something that you perceive as being offensive or wrong or whatever, it's really hard to like not jump down their throat, right? To be like, how could you say that? But instead, you're like, why did you say that? So if you shift that kind of thinking in your head, it's kind of like the thinking with kids. Whenever a kid misbehaves, I don't think, what is wrong with you? Why did you like, it's more like, why do you have that behavior? Like, what caused you to behave in that way? And let's think about that rather than labeling you as this.
Mhm.
So, and start a conversation.
So, what is going on in this piece though? It looks like I for a second I thought I was
Chaos.
looking at like cake houses.
Yeah, actually, that was my influence initially. So this is the fifth in the series. I did five of these, and this is the culmination of all of them. So
Mhm.
it started off with kind of like these cake tiers, kind of like
Okay.
the idea of leveling up. And my first one included the houses. So you have like, middle class, lower middle class on the bottom there, and then you go up to like upper middle class, and then you go up to a mansion. So people kind of, that is their pursuit of happiness, is trying to have a nice house. Other people, like there's one with cars on here that's in the middle right. like upgrading your car to
Do
an
cars
SUV.
make you happy?
No, God, no. I have a car in the driveway right now that's missing a door handle, so you know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. The one on the far right, it's people in nature and them climbing up a different structure to gain perspective. You've got people seeking knowledge in that very top tier.
The ones that look like Super Saiyans in the top?
Yeah, they're super chill. They've reached nirvana.
Nirvana, so they're like Buddhist monks almost.
Yeah, like seeking enlightenment.
Okay.
And that's their pursuit of happiness. So, I mean, this really focuses on like there's so many. The big one in the very front there is about power or control. So you have the person at the top controlling the 3 people on the next tier.
With
and
the
then,
puppet strings?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you got a little Ponzi scheme up in the front.
Yep, you got it. So, I mean, even though we all might have like differences of what we see, what makes us happy, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other people are wrong. It just means we have different definitions of what success and happiness is.
What's success and happiness for you?
Enlightenment.
What
knowledge?
What is enlightenment, though?
I don't think there is a certain point. I don't think there's an end goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh, now I'm enlightened. I think it's just this continual conversation that you have with other people.
Yeah.
You listen to other people's stories. You read about people's experiences. You visit places. You experience other cultures other than your own. And just really be a good listener.
Do you meditate?
Not really. I paint.
So is
not formally meditate, but I mean, I guess I kind of do when I zone out when I'm listening to music.
Do you like actually spend like when you listen to music, do you shut off all other sensory and just kind of close your eyes?
No, I don't do that.
You don't have a big old record collection?
No. Everything's digital now. I used to save my CDs, but we got rid of a lot of those.
What are CDs?
I know, right? They're like DVDs, but for music.
It's a term. If you go in Compton's encyclopedia. What's Compton's encyclopedia?
I don't know. Webster's?
Webster's dictionary. In Webster's dictionary, I was thinking Compton's encyclopedia. It stands for compact disc. Compact. I said compacts. Compact disc. Yeah. So so your pursuit of happiness is enlightenment.
Yeah, and honestly, contentment for where I am, which is a struggle sometimes when challenges come up, but really trying to be happy and not necessarily constantly thinking about, oh, if I had this, I would be more happy, but really appreciating the people that I have in my life. Because I have a lot of amazing people in my life.
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky to have the people that I have. A lot of them are on here right now, watching. So.
Kristi Ponder.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a dream project?
Ooh. You know, I do, actually. I was going to do it this summer. I was super excited. And I came up with this idea because there was this grant, and I got accepted to do this artist in residency program, but I can't afford it because, you know, I'm a teacher and an artist. I don't know, I never wanted to make money, I guess. But essentially what I want to do is I want to interview different people. And I want to, from different backgrounds, different ages, different genders, different races, and ask them some of the similar questions you've been asking me tonight. Like, you know, what is your pursuit of happiness? What does that mean to you? what is the one thing in society that you hate and wish you could change? Things like that, even like their aesthetic, like showing them different images and having them pick which speaks to their personal aesthetic. So I can use all of that information to create a personalized painting that's based on them and their responses. I did something similar in college, but not quite as advanced. I did collages and poetry and photography, like a book of most of the people I had met in Italy, but I did it based off of my perception of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought this would be interesting because I was actually including factual information that they wanted to share with me into this project. So I'm getting there. I got a few more pieces to finish before I plan on sending that out at some point, and just seeing the different responses I get.
So you were so that's a proposal that you're in the works of making.
Yeah. Well, I was going to do it this summer. We'll see, maybe next summer.
So what do you mean by was? Like you were going to submit the proposal, or actually it was
I got
in the
accepted.
works? Okay.
Yeah, I got accepted to do it, but I had to pay for a little, like, I don't even remember. It's like $1,500.
Uh-huh.
It's like an 8-week thing, and you have full access to this art school, and they buy all your materials, and they put an art show on at the end, and so I was going to do that, but I ended up thinking I was going to get funded, and then I ended up not getting funded for it. So
what are some ways that we can make money to get you funded? I mean, do you have a GoFundMe page?
I don't.
Do you have a Patreon page?
I don't.
Do you have a Buy Me a Coffee page?
I don't.
Do you have
I honestly, like, man, I'm weird. I would much rather that people gave their money to like a charity that was meaningful for them. Because this project, I can do it later. You know what I mean? I don't want to take people's money for something like this. I want them to give it where they want in their community or whatever charitable organization that'll help people.
But couldn't I hate to sound like weird, but couldn't you be the charity, right? Like people want to support and promote you, right? Why is that such a bad thing?
I don't know. I've just never. I don't know. I don't know. That's I guess my answer.
I mean, because clearly, when we first started this interview, like I was super distracted because I just you can't see the comments, but I just got like just a stream of comments that I don't want to share unless they allow me to, because I want them to be anonymous, because otherwise if I share the comment, it shows their name up there. It's there for eternity, and I don't want to do that. But like I was like, oh, they're like, okay, we can go through, like one went Ponder.
Kristi, hey, I can actually see him on here. That's
you can see them.
Hi, Shelby.
You can see them. I didn't know that. I thought.
Yeah, I can see them.
No one told me that. I
turned it off while we were talking, so I didn't get distracted.
Oh, you can turn it off. I did not know that, because
I can hide it.
Oh, I was under the impression that only the host could see the comments, which is why because maybe I was with some other guest artists that just didn't know that there was comments happening on the right side of the stream, and I was like, I guess no one sees these comments that are streaming on the right side and these questions that are happening, because apparently they didn't see them. So you can see them, okay? But as I was saying, you have a list of people that are just totally appreciate you. I'm sure that they wouldn't be against providing you with support, right? Yeah,
I just feel I don't know.
That's one of those.
It really does.
That's one of those things with artists. We I think we're more valuable than we give ourselves credit. And as you said, it feels weird, It does. And I think like what you say about yourself and what you think about yourself becomes like your reality, or like I've heard that. So like if you say I feel weird about like selling my artwork, or the value of my artwork, then you're going to feel weird doing it, and you have a support system. I think they could help you out, at the very least. They're a strong network that could really give you a hand, you know
Well, they help me, all of them actually. I mean, not necessarily financially all the time, which I like I said, that to me, it's like I make money, I have a job, um, but they support me in so many ways.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I told you before, like I have a lot of awesome people in my life.
yeah, it's good to have that network of positivity around you.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
you know um it if you surround yourself with negative people, you're just going to be a negative person.
Exactly. That's a real hard lesson too, especially when you care about someone that's kind of
have
that
you had
negative person.
have you
Yeah.
had that happen to you?
Yeah, a couple different times. And a couple of them I had to cut out of my life, which is so hard to do. Because when you really care about them, but then it's like you think about the pros and the cons,
Yeah,
like what are the positives this person is bringing to my life and what are the negatives? And it's so hard when you realize that this person that you've known forever and that you care about is actually causing more negative in your life than positive. So my
like
husband's been really good at like helping me
discern
realize that. Yeah.
discern between the two.
Yeah.
It's like, that person's no good.
And it's hard because they
It's
don't
like,
mean to be that way.
yeah, what was it, like the phrase misery loves company.
Yep.
And like, like I think I mentioned this before in other conversations. Excuse me. I had spaghetti earlier,
Delicious.
and
I had
it's
Jimmy John's. It was delicious.
Jimmy John's. What's your
Oh
favorite
yeah.
Jimmy John's? I haven't been to Jimmy John's forever.
What's my favorite? Oh, I like the Beach Club. That one's good. I
I
like
don't ca-
avocado.
I don't care what Jimmy John's, like what kind of sandwich what kind of Jimmy John's sandwich it is, as long as there's a lot of it. um, what I was about to say was, like, you could have, what was it? You're like the average of the five people that you surround yourself with. And there was like some studies where they had like some students, they were like really like A students, and they thought that if they brought in the student that wasn't doing as well grade wise, maybe they had a C or D average. They thought that if they brought the student in, that the other group of like
A students or
more
whatever.
excelling students would bring that student up. It turned out that it was actually reversed.
Mhm.
That one student actually brought the others down, because it's easier to it's it's amazingly easy to be negative.
It is. I mean, our brains, I was actually just talking to somebody today about this. It's like, think about the last three negative things that happened to you,
Yeah,
right? Now think about the last three positive things that happened to you. That's a lot harder to remember.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes I'll often write down like, I'm grateful for like coffee.
Yes.
Just something
Can't
simple,
live without coffee.
or like, I'm grateful for having a roof over my head, right?
Yeah.
Just
Having
like, this is a simple thing,
Yep.
that we often take for granted.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity. And I have an amazing friend who is actually watching right now. Like one of my best friends, Tiffany, she's actually a counselor.
Hmm.
And the last time she saw me, she does these little games with me that she does with her clients, which are kind of weird and fun, and I love them. But she made me list 25 things that I was proud of
Hmm.
about myself. And man, that felt so weird. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, do you want help? And I'm like, yeah. And she like listed off 5. I'm like, okay, keep going. But I mean, it's really hard to even think positively about yourself
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So get a friend like Tiffany. She'll make you feel good about yourself.
So are you gonna set up a GoFundMe page to help you get the funds to pay for your dream project?
I'll think about it. I will.
Is that a a yes?
Maybe,
A maybe? How
possibly.
many artworks would you have to sell to to pay for this endeavor?
I mean, honestly, if I sold like one or two, I would probably have enough money to do quite a few because I already have all my paint. I would just need some canvases or some wood panels I like painting on more.
So you need to sell two pieces so that you can go on this was it a what's this, is it called the internship? No, it's not
Well,
internship.
I
It's
don't have to do the residency to do the artwork though.
yeah, yeah. Um so do you want to do the residency or do you want to do the artwork?
I think I would be content with just doing the artwork.
And what would the residency how would you benefit from the residency?
So that would be just from being surrounded by a community of artists,
Okay.
rather than just in my studio.
Okay.
So, and I mean, the lady told me I'm accepted for next year if I get the money for next year. So I'm thinking about it,
We
but
should
it's not until next summer. So I got some time.
we should get that going. We're gonna get that going. You're gonna get a couple emails or DMs afterwards, and they're gonna be like, "I got you," and they're like, and then you'll have it. You got to say it over and over again, and then it manifests.
And then it'll happen.
Yes, we're I it will happen. No, so that's good that you have this dream project going on, and it's actually brings up a pretty interesting point is about like the when you're an artist by yourself, right? You live you kind of we're all like kind of hermits in a
Yeah,
sense,
we are.
and you don't always have a community or you don't always have a like a person behind you to give you positive feedback or feedback that might help because
We'll
you're
see.
always looking at a vacuum, you know.
And I'm also very lucky to have three friends in particular who are artists, who I regularly, Tiffany's one of them. I talked about her earlier, but my friends Kat and Jen, if they're watching, I frequently will send them pictures of my artwork or make art with them. So I am lucky to have those three people in my life that keep me motivated, but also, I can get feedback from. And
Yeah, that's helpful.
yeah, it really is. Like I said, I'm pretty lucky.
It's probably more helpful than the Facebook groups that are
Yes.
on there. Like, have you been on one of those? I don't.
I'm on the same one you are.
Well, no, I mean, I'm in those Facebook groups that are like supposed to be like, we're here to give constructive criticism on your work, and it's really like, draw more
Yeah.
or look at anatomy.
And man, I love people, like they're so nice. But when I sit there and I'm like, constructive criticism, like please tell me
Yeah,
how to make it better, and like nobody wants to say anything mean, which is great. It's nice. But I'm like, man, I just want somebody to be like, what the hell were you thinking? Like,
yeah. I
why
think
did you do that?
I think that's one of the outcomes of this kind of like new world that we're in, where where we want to risk offending anyone, I
Yeah.
guess, and we want to take everyone's feelings into consideration as well, you know, and um, we as artists and as the artwork is like often for a lot of us like an extension of ourselves,
Yeah, very
you
much.
know, and because it's a like a physical extension of ourselves, any feedback that may be construed as negative,
The personal attack.
And really that's not the case. And it's really hard to be to provide criticism,
Yeah.
it's and how, how I go about it is when I do it, I just offer suggestions like, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that. I think what if you move the shape could be better off slightly higher up on the right. I see it's a little too far in the center, it's demanding too much eye attention. I don't know if that's what you were going for. If not, maybe moving it around in the composition might be better. And I just provide I try to go as many options as I can with critiques that kind of shows an unbiased approach, because of course I have my own aesthetic, and I will point it out this is my kind of aesthetic. So you
take
want
it or
to
leave it. Yeah,
you take it with a grain of salt. I like layers, and so it's not like this is the best way or this is a better way. It's more this is just a way that might make it better, right?
Yeah,
it might not. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I just think of hypotheticals with people's work. Again, though, it can be misconstrued, but I tried my best to be as unemotional about it.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you do in those type of situations?
Like giving feedback to people?
Yeah, what's your approach?
Oh man, I'm a pro at that. That's what I do. Specifically with my students or even online, in our group, if somebody is asking for feedback, I think my approach is very similar to yours, to where I kind of start off with, have you thought about?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually my sentence stem, because that's what I teach to the kids. This is how you can provide feedback.
Yeah.
Where it's not taken as offensive if you say it like this, to where it's have you thought about making that object on the right bigger? Have you thought about increasing the contrast between these two things?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, to where it's very open-ended, and it's very much you're providing guidance, but you're not telling them what to do. So yeah, I think that's kind of the approach I take, either in person or via Facebook. But I have seen some people who sometimes on Facebook, they ask for criticism and somebody gives it to them, and then they get really sad about it. So it's I'm hesitant sometimes.
Well, there's
I really don't want to anger this person, but if they're asking for it, I want to help.
And then those groups can be kind of just mean, and some of them can be mean. This people just they'll just as if they just have something, they're just out to destroy someone's work, whether it's good or not, and they won't even give any feedback to what they could do to improve it. They're just this is garbage. Stop what you're doing. Really, dude.
Why are you? I saw somebody say something why are you making art? What is wrong with you? This person does some very quick drawings.
Yeah,
they're meant to be that way. She's well aware that they don't take her 10 hours to make these little drawings, but that's what she does, and they're cool. They're unique, but
and part of it might be they're the individuals experience of what art is very narrow. They're only looking through a lens of let's just say they're only looking through a lens of what's really, really popular on Instagram. You know, and this is good art. What you're doing, not so good.
This is dumb.
Good, bad. Good, bad. Instagram has good art. You don't. Right. And the thing is though, it's a very narrow lens.
Well, I always expose my students to Dada and Marcel Duchamp specifically, and had them write their definition of art before they were introduced to that and after, because it dramatically changed. When I'm well, why isn't this urinal that's turned on its side in an art gallery? Why is that not art? And really starting that conversation with them and getting them thinking about it. And most of them always end up, well, art is whatever you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody can create art. Like it's anything. It's our houses, it's our clothing, it's our hairstyles, like it's everything. So I'm always really proud of the kids when they kind of get to that conclusion, or like their own personal, even if it's not that, but their own personal definition of what they think art is, rather than just taking what has been told to them.
Have you heard about that artist that sold an invisible sculpture for like $15,000 or something like that?
Who was that? I did hear about that. I just don't remember who it was.
On another note, I just started a completely new series of invisible drawings.
How much are they?
They're selling like hotcakes. I don't know if anyone can afford them, but like they're like $5,000 a pop. I have like 200 of them already finished because I can just pump them out like crazy. They're so quick.
So if I like send you my social security number and my bank account, then you'll like send me a drawing, right?
Yeah,
an invisible drawing, right?
And an invisible drawing. Actually, as an NFT.
Okay.
So you'll get the invisible drawing as a non-fungible token. You won't have the actual physical invisible drawing yet, but I'll have it in my safety deposit box for whenever you want it.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. We'll do that after the show.
So whenever you want it, you can take it and you can display it, get that nice frame for it with the light on top of it.
Oh yeah, the gallery style lighting.
You want to have it. You want to have a proper light source for these invisible drawings because they are perfection. They're the greatest.
Good luck with that.
Hey, someone's done it. I'm just riding on the coattails.
Well, don't copy.
We're all copying to some degree.
Yeah, that's true.
We're like,
that's
what was it like? There's no like new idea, just reimaginings of
I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, I would agree with that.
What was it like on like what's just like as we were saying, like the aperture, the focal point, the small lens on Instagram art is typically like popular culture drawings of other people's characters.
Yeah.
Like Marvel characters, Disney characters, manga characters, anime characters. Like, look at my really good drawing of Goku. Yeah, that's not your idea. That's someone else's idea. And you're getting thousands and thousands of thousands. And like the of likes, or like the original ideas, the original characters. Like when people you ever heard of the phrase OC?
Yeah.
For original character. I didn't know what that was because
I teach middle school, so I know what that is.
It's like I didn't know what that was because I always did original characters.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's an OC? They're like, oh, it's an original character. Like, you mean like everything that I would draw made up in my sketchbook?
Man, and we have to go over that too, like in the classroom, because it's like, guys, you can't just take somebody else's image and trace it. Like, I'm okay with tracing, especially if you're learning how to draw, or like you're doing some other theme to where it doesn't matter if you're tracing or not, but you can't just trace something and reproduce it exactly and say it's yours.
Yeah.
So you really work with like how to alter that image, or how to add in other things, or how to combine things, or how to make it fit what you want to do, and not just tracing somebody else's work. So
when does it become yours, though? That's a tricky question.
That is a tricky question. So if you're tracing something digitally, I assume it's the one thing you do to make it different than the original picture. I don't know.
Like, because like as I was saying, like on Instagram, you have all these people doing other people's characters, but it's done under their style, right? But like, is it theirs, or is it still the other? Like, it's still the other person.
Yeah, like, I mean, if it's a character, yeah. If it, and maybe that's the line between like your art and somebody else's art. So if it's somebody else's character versus like you're tracing a drawing of a skull that somebody drew, like the anatomical skull, like I think that's different.
I'm always fascinated. I'm fascinated with ownership of art because of what's happening on Instagram. You know, you have because you see a lot of these artists that like are basically ripping like The Simpsons or Disney,
Uh-huh.
and they're like selling paintings of them, and I'm wondering like is is Disney's going to sue them, or do they have the actual rights to it, to those characters? And for all I know, they might have the rights, but
Maybe,
probably
but
not.
probably not.
You
Now,
know,
you
it's
got to be
very
careful with that. Don't do that with Star Wars. Um, you have to be like a Lucas certified artist.
really
And there's people that do that. So they have like, you know, the rights to create artwork based off of Star Wars characters. But you have to, it's a pretty rigorous process, and I'm not interested.
I went to a gallery opening, or not, it wasn't an opening. It was, I just went to I went to a gallery. No, I went to a gallery in California a couple years back, and the director was telling me that this is the only artist that has the rights to like reproduce or recreate Snoopy characters or
Hmm.
something. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then what I really wasn't like impressed by that. I was more so impressed by the fact that the paper that the artist was using was like $1,000 a sheet.
Oh my God.
I was like, that's really expensive paper. I'd be afraid to mess it up, you know?
I would mess it up. I would use 10 sheets.
Yeah, like it was really expensive paper, and I was like, that's why the pieces cost so much, you know?
There you go.
Kristi, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hate that question. I'm sorry.
You hate that question. Pass. Um,
Can I tell you why I hate it though?
yes, go ahead.
It really is just kind of like this idea to where especially I guess teaching kids, like they're asked that all the time. Like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do after high school? Where are you going to be in 5 years? And it's like, man, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I might be still in St. Louis. I might not be. I might be teaching art. I might be coaching teachers on how to include more critical thinking and creativity into their classroom curriculum. Um, I have no idea.
Okay,
Um,
well let's do an imagination exercise. Let's imagine like if every like pers- dream or things that you everything that you pursued for the next 5 years occurred without any hiccups. Money wasn't an issue. Um, um, you didn't have to compete against other applications for residencies or jobs or whatever. What would you be doing? Just go as big as possible, like the biggest thing that you could dream up.
Honestly, and this is another question Tiffany asked me. Um, honestly, one of my biggest dreams has been to like open up a homeless shelter.
Okay.
Um, for people that where we would have like and there's some of these communities that exist, so we'd have individual rooms for people, security, job training, um, counseling,
Yeah.
education classes, and at Goodwill in St. Louis I've actually taught with them as an adjunct professor, to the adult high school, so people that didn't get their high school diploma when they were teenagers for whatever reason. It's an adult high school and it's free. The Goodwill is amazing. I can't say enough about that place. But so something like that, to where if people didn't have, a high school diploma, they could receive that on this campus as well. Like pretty much anything that I can do to help people get back on their feet that, might have been just bad luck or just completely, disenfranchised by the system
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Do you do a lot of volunteer work on the side?
I used to. I haven't in a little while. I have before, but I've also, when I used to work for the Rittner School District back in the day, and I did a lot of community art there. So whether it was with my students, getting them out in the community, beautifying their community,
Yeah.
we painted sewer lid covers, we painted the food pantry in that area. So I mean, like actual murals inside of the building. So I mean, that tends to be more of my volunteer work, is doing stuff like that
Yeah.
for the community, or creating fundraisers. We've done that for food banks, where my students have created artwork that we've auctioned off to benefit charities and stuff like that.
Are you going to be doing any more like charity events where you auction off art in the future? Do you have any planned?
Not yet. I have a couple of ideas. Still kind of working on that, though. Trying to get a couple people involved. We'll see. TBD.
Contact me in the future about that if you want some artwork donated.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So what would it take? Like, what would it take for you to make this kind of like community? I'm kind of labeling it, but I don't know what would you call it. Like, I'm going to label it like a community center. But like, what would it be? What would it take to do that project?
Well, I mean, first things first, I'd have to make sure that my financial stuff was taken care of. You know, for now and for in my future for my family. But after that, I mean, it would really just be the resources and trying to figure out who I contact. And I mean, that would take some work and talking to the right people.
Do you have anyone in mind?
Not right now, because I know it's kind of far away before I can really begin something like that. I'm so busy right now. Like, I know it's down the line. It's down the line when I don't teach full time.
Would it also have like a therapeutic art like classes?
Like art therapy? Man, that's something I've been wanting to do for the longest time too. I do that with my kids, and I do that with staff members too. To try and teach them different art therapy techniques, because it works for a lot of people. Even if they don't consider themselves an amazing artist, it can still help. So.
And is that something that you also want to pursue?
Yeah, I have a lot of interests. I have too many.
What was it? What was it, like Warren Buffett? He like some billionaire guy, whatever.
Yeah,
you know him, right? You know him?
Yeah, yeah.
Some billionaire dude, Warren Buffett. He talked about like how you set goals, and he was telling his pilot, or his driver, like, here, write down the top 10 things that you want to achieve, or top really passionate things, and like write those down, and scratch out all of them except like 2 or 3. And he said, and he told his like driver or his pilot, I don't know, he's probably a pilot. God, he's rich. He's a gazillionaire. He's probably not a pilot, you know. And he told his pilot, those 3 things, you need to focus on those only. And he's like,
yeah.
What about these other things? No, don't even think about those. Throw those ideas away. You're not even going to work on them when you have a spare moment of time. Those first 3 things are important. You're going to work on them. You know, and it's
good advice.
Yeah, it's really, because there's some truth to it. Like, you can't pursue everything as much as you'd like to pursue everything. I'd love to pursue lots of things. What was it like?
Yeah.
Did you know that there's a longer quote to Jack of all trades?
No, I did not.
Like, I don't remember it, but I don't remember it. Maybe I should look it up. We're gonna go up Jack of all trades quote.
You looking it up?
Yeah, like, it's a longer quote. So, like,
master of none. There it is. Jack of all trades is a master of none. though oft times better than master of one.
Yeah, yeah. So like we always look at like jack of all trades as like a negative thing, but if you have more tools out of your box than the average person, you're probably more versatile for the situation, you know?
Yeah, that's something I've actually always kind of prided myself on, was being extremely well-rounded
Yeah.
in my interests and how I, try to approach different things. So my interests are very, very broad.
Yeah, like the it's I don't know where I was going with that. I'm so sorry. I'm just
It's late,
scatterbrained.
man. It's
It
after
is late.
9:30.
Well, the to have more versatility is a good skill set, because you have more insight than the average person who specializes in one thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, because if your opinion is based upon one specialty and you have more lenses than that one person who has one focus, you have a more well-rounded approach. And
And that's really funny because I actually I had a boss a while back that actually told me to like pick one thing and brand myself and all of that stuff, and I'm like, I'm not interested in that. Like, I don't want to just pick one thing.
as
Like
far as
that.
like artwork,
No, no, in my in teaching,
okay.
like pick something and just stay with that. I'm like, no, but you gotta think about all these other things to be really good at this job.
I,
You can't just narrow in on one thing.
I had a conversation with my last conversation I had in my the last artist interview. Um, he was saying to be a good educator, you got to be a generalist. You got to be have a broad spectrum view of a broad knowledge of art, and not just a one field, like
Yep.
one genre that you know a lot about.
Yep. And I
And
love experimenting, which is why you saw like my gender one was totally
yeah.
different than my other stuff.
Do you have any life advice that you would like to share to the viewers?
Life advice. Oh man, that's a deep one. I think we already talked about the whole like toxic people or negative people and like picking the people around you very smartly, very wisely.
Mhm.
So since we already talked about that, I think I would say something about like don't necessarily let your job dictate your life.
Okay.
Um, so your job is not entirely who you are. It is a very small piece of who you are, but that is not the only thing that you are. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people live for this acquiring of stuff and promotions and making more money so they can buy nicer, newer things. And very seldom does that actually make anybody happy. So, really thinking about what makes you happy and how it's okay if it's not the mainstream things.
I bought a pair of pants like a year ago.
Do they make you happy?
Um, I needed pants, but before I bought those pair of pants,
You
I
didn't
didn't
have
buy
any?
it. I was pantsless for
Oh no.
no. I didn't buy a pair of pants for like 5 years prior. So like I don't like buying things. I don't think I haven't bought a pair of shoes in like 6 years.
Yeah, no, no, no. I do buy shoes because that's important. I also hike a lot though.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna buy
yeah, good
pretty
shoes are
soon.
important.
Pretty
Yeah.
soon I'm gonna be buying a pair of shoes. So pretty soon I'm like maybe by the end of the year I'll have a new pair of shoes.
Dude, I just bought a sweet new backpack today. I'm very excited about, thanks to my amazing in-laws.
A,
Um,
s- a sweet backpack.
oh yeah, like backpacking, like
Hmm.
hiking
Yeah,
overnight.
you mentioned that you backpack and hike.
Yeah, I've never backpack hiked before, but my husband and I hike pretty frequently. Or in the summer, if it's too hot for hiking, we kayak down rivers all throughout Missouri. So
Do you do the kayaking where you go into the water and spin around?
go in the water and spin around. What
Well,
do you
like,
mean?
not like you go
Like
underwater,
do
and
flips?
like doing a helicopter or anything. But you see those people like, I remember when I was a little kid in like a Boy Scout camp or something. I saw a guy on a kayak or something, and he just went, woof, and he went underwater, and then he
Oh, I've
spit
never
back
done
up.
that. That sounds awesome, though.
Like I think he had like like his waist was sealed or something.
Yeah, yeah, he had one of those kayaks that like fit around your waist, and he probably
Yeah,
had
and
like a life jacket on or something. Yeah,
yeah, he
that's
did
so
like he just submerged his body. He flipped upside down, and then he flipped back up, and
cool.
I was like, what? I was like, should we call? I didn't know because for like the brief second he was under flipped upside down, I was like, is anyone going to
Oh,
is anyone going to do anything? I know I'm only a kid, but is that normal? So do you got any favorite hiking places that you go to?
my favorite right now is actually Han in St. Genevieve. Technically, it's right by Farmington too. Um, there's a Whispering Pines trail that is absolutely beautiful. And if it's about a 10-mile, 11-mile loop, but if you can build up your endurance to that, I highly, highly recommend that. That trail is just amazing.
Do you do that
So
often?
we've done it 2 times, and we're gonna do our first overnight backpacking trip on it, where we're gonna pack up all the gear and practice. July 3rd, I think we're actually going, which is a Saturday.
You
And
almost would have to do like would have to stay the night if it's 11-mile track.
oh no, no, we do 11 to 13 miles in one go.
What?
Yeah.
How long
Well,
does that
not
take?
right now. My foot's all messed up right now, but it could take, maybe 5 hours. We
Five
bring
hours?
food and water, but it's a nice day. Like it's just usually just me and my husband,
Okay.
and I mean we get along extremely well, and so it's like amazing. We're just both out in nature and just both happy, and you know, it's super serene, and it's just nice to get away from all the chaos in life.
Hmm.
So
If you could choose one media to work with for the next year, what would it be?
one,
Yeah,
oh
because you're
God.
interdisciplinary. You're a mixed media artist. So if you could only choose one media to work with, what would it be and why?
Oh, I hate it. If it had
This
to be
question's
one,
hard.
if it had to be one, I mean, I would pick acrylic paint on wood
Okay.
if that's all I could do, because then I could do a lot of different things with the thickness of my paint by watering it down or adding things to make it thicker so I can create a lot of texture that way. So I wouldn't like being limited, but that's what I would probably pick.
What media would you if what media have you not used and you only had if you had 1 year to use that media, what would it be?
I really want to learn more about printmaking.
Printmaking?
Yeah, I haven't done a ton of printmaking besides like, if you count the transfers that I've done or that leaf printing that I talked about, but I've never really been exposed to much printmaking, so that's something for my future to think about.
There's some all-stars in St. Louis. Some
There
all-star
are.
yeah. I
There
forget
really are.
I forgot the name. I know there's some world-renowned printmakers. You would know. Do you know?
Which there's lots of world renowned for like El Greco did a lot of really super awesome um Albrecht Durr.
No, I mean like currently living in St. Louis.
Oh,
There's one specific one I'm referring to. I just don't remember the dude's name. He does a lot of woodcuts.
why do I not? No, it's not coming to me. I think I
I
know who
think
you're talking about though.
he has like an annual camp that he does every once in a while. I think it was
Hmm.
canceled. So, Kristi, how would you like people to remember this conversation?
Ooh. Ah. I would like them to remember it, I guess. Probably the like a main theme, maybe, or like the moral of the story.
Yeah, what's the Cliff Notes version of this conversation? What is it?
For me personally, I think it would have to be like just the understanding of humanity and that we're all humans and we all have a lot more in common than we do differences. And really thinking about that before you get really defensive or offensive
Yeah.
towards another person, but try to listen and understand them.
Okay. So try to reach an understanding.
Yeah, yeah, just talk and listen and try not to judge. It's hard because it's kind of imprinted on
Mhm.
us. Like our brain likes to judge things and put them in boxes and sort them and label them, but really try to resist that urge and get to know that person.
Kristi, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me and sharing the world and sharing your story. It was really nice.
Thank you for inviting me. I've never done this before, and this, like you said at the beginning, this is the first time since really college that I've actually shown my artwork
Mhm.
ever. So I've had a few things recently, a show here, a show there. Um, so I'm really looking forward to kind of keeping that momentum going and see
Yeah.
how else I can, have really conversations with people through my
Yeah.
artwork.
Kristi, where can people find you on the internet?
So my website is actually bit.ly. It's bit.ly/kponderartist. And I'm also on Facebook at kponderartist, all one word. So those are the two easiest ways to find me.
Awesome, awesome. Again, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. Before we end the live stream, I just want to say, for those that are watching, Kristi Ponder is looking for some help to pay for her residency come next summer. Next summer. So let's make that happen, or at the very least, it's at the very end of this video, and you could always talk about it later. But give her a shout out, follow her, check her out, check her workout on her website, and follow her on. Is it follow or like on Facebook? It's a little
I
bit of
think you
both.
can follow and like on
What
Facebook.
before we end? Like, what does that mean? I was like, what's the difference? Do you know?
I really don't know because like people that I like people's websites and I see them or their Facebook page and I
Yeah,
see their stuff and if I follow them I see their stuff. So I really does
yeah.
anybody know
Like,
the answer? Anybody listening? Put that in the
I don't.
comments maybe because I don't know.
I might have to look into that. But again, thank you so much everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I have weekly artist interviews, except for last week when the person ghosted me. uh, but I do have weekly artist interviews, and so if you subscribe, you will be notified when I set up another live stream with the next artist. So my goal is to do one a week, but that's been already shattered. So I'm going to keep on trucking, and maybe I might get two in 1 week. So hopefully I'll get 52 artists for this year. So thank you so much, everyone. Really do appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful day. Cheers. Bye.